because I'm like 100. I'm only like 6 houses
So you
off.
must be very close to
Main Street.
Main Street.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like the whole point. And yeah, it's my grade. I don't care. I feel justified in doing it.
As long as you're not shutting on us, or else you can as much as you want.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. I'd like to open the meeting at 7:30. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mr. Fitzer? Mr. Hara?
Here.
Mr. Cusero?
Here.
Mr. Nushai?
Here.
Ms. Redmond?
Here.
Mr. Scott? Mr. Solomon?
Here.
Mr. Tinlin? Thank you.
Thank you. Item agenda number 4 is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any problems with tonight's agenda as it stands? Seeing none, I will approve it as it is. And we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is approval of the regular meeting minutes from June 10th, 2025, which is our last meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of June 10th,
June 10th.
2025. Ew.
Support.
And motion support. Anybody have any changes? Anything they want to do with it? Anybody happy with it? May I have roll call on that, please?
Mr. Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Cusero?
Yes.
Mr. Nushai?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
And Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6 is public discussion. Is there anyone from public wishing to opine? If you come to the microphone, we'll give you about 3 minutes or so.
Well, I'll walk slow.
Okay. If you could be kind enough to give us your name and address if you wish. Yeah.
All right, so my name is Linda, and I live on Kenilworth,
Okay.
okay? I happen to live behind a Airbnb. And I've had some code problems, which I have addressed with the city manager here, Mr. Nick. Okay.
Assistant.
Oh, sorry, assistant, sorry. Slip of the tongue. But I put together this letter, and I'll read it, and I'd like to leave it here. It's not just me. I've talked to other people, neighbors, okay? Mines and the parking on the street and stuff like that. But here's what. Last week I attended the meeting between the Planning Committee and Council, and I was not aware of the ordinance being considered allowing commercial Airbnbs to reside in a residential neighborhood. My problem was with the one behind me. The code enforcement hasn't, I was promised soon, they're gonna take a look at the slab that they put in. This creates a waterfall down my driveway, and of course the ice and snow that's never removed. There's other things that it has done. The garbage is out and about everywhere. The critters are getting it in and carrying it everywhere. And it looks terrible. And I think one of my neighbors, well, I've got pictures. I'm going to send the pictures that I have. So with that being said, but that's not the only problem, okay? I was sitting next to a gentleman, a very nice young gentleman, that owns an Airbnb, but he lives right next door. And he takes great care of his investment, and no complaints in the neighborhood. The trash is taken care of, his lawn is taken care of. It looks like someone nice owns it. And I said, that's great. And I quietly asked him, very quietly, so is there any background checks? He said to me, funny you should ask. I got a call from Airbnb saying to get that guy out of my house. Get him out as soon as possible. And of course, they didn't tell him why. because it's not up to them to give out information like that. And I got to thinking, wow, so now we're going to open it up to people to rent short-term, and they're going to invite their friends over. God forbid that that person coming in, because most of these places have a lot of bedrooms and places to stay, so they have people coming in, that they are on a list somewhere. They shouldn't be anywhere close to a child. They're a rapist, they're a child molester, something like that, okay? And personally, I wouldn't want someone living behind me that is on that list, okay? We all know that list exists to protect people, okay? And then I got to thinking, well, what if they open this up, what is the responsibility, the liability of Clausen in case something happens? I can imagine, you know, a lawsuit, that's all I can imagine, of problems like that, okay? It's not just that it looks bad in the neighborhood, like you're trying to keep the place up, and my neighbor told me today, she goes, yeah, I always bring their garbage cans in because I don't think they should be out at the street for 7 weeks, okay? Or 7 days, it doesn't matter. But she says, oh yeah, I go over there and bring them back in. Because nobody lives there, it's always rented, okay? And I'm like, once in a while, I'll get a car parked in my driveway. And I said, well, I didn't order a new car. So I call the owner and I say, hey, I got a new car. It's parked in my driveway, but I don't own it. They know why. Someone next door has decided to park in my driveway. I think there's more problems in having a motel in a residential area than we're thinking about right now. And I've lived here for 20 years. I love all my neighbors. I talk to them all the time. And they don't like that house there. I talk to them all. And and I asked them, well, send an email to you guys. Send an email to let you guys know about things that are happening that they see. Because it's only from my viewpoint, but I just think that,
Is this property on Kenilworth?
no, it's on Langley.
It's on Langley.
Yeah. It's on there. It's on that list.
1223 Langley?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yep.
so they are licensed with the city apparently.
Yeah, you know what? What do they have to pay, $80 a year?
Yeah. How
Yeah.
long have they been there, do you know?
Well, it's been about a year, probably a year, okay, that they finally made it into an Airbnb. Then they decided that it needed more parking, that the slab went in, and that's my problem.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Okay.
Okay, but at least they're trying to keep the grass cut. Snow removal, 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can help you out.
It would be nice to, and I know that they only pay $80 a year, and it would be nice to maybe make it $80 a month to pay for the code enforcers.
It's a bit excessive.
Oh, okay, but it's just a thought, maybe it would pay for more code enforcers, I don't know, but anyways, I just think that there's more of a problem here, especially when they have visitors.
We're well aware of that, yeah.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Can I leave this with you guys?
Sure.
Someone?
If you get a nicking copy for us.
No, I don't. I have a copy of it, so
Oh.
I don't need, it's just, and you're gonna get more. I guarantee
Okay.
you. All right, thank you for your time, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too. Anyone else in public? Seeing no more public, I will then close public discussion, and we will move on to agenda item number 7, which is discussion of the short-term rental zoning ordinance amendment. So we're just having a discussion this evening. And you want to start us off, Nick, or?
All right, so as you're all aware, we had the joint workshop last week. Have had a very productive conversation. I think we made some progress on what exactly both boards are looking to see in the zoning ordinance, and then also kind of touched on what we want to see changing in the general ordinance. So again, the city was closed on Thursday for the holiday, and so there hasn't been a ton of time to generate language. As Joe Tangari shared, he's also out of town. What I did want to provide you, though, is the 6 districts that were discussed at that last meeting, and then just the type of property. And so just like your traditional single-family home that you would see an Airbnb in, wanted to provide the number of properties that would be fit in that category. So that's the only thing that's really presented to you this evening. And then, again, just the capital that we discussed. So I know that there's eager to move this ordinance along faster. So I would recommend and ask that the Planning Commission just set a public hearing on it without a date. So then once the PC does approve language, we don't have to wait another meeting to schedule another public hearing. It'll just give us some authority to, all right, the Planning Commission's approved language, we can schedule a public hearing. I think that'll expedite things, and sort of having to come back to you. So that would be the one request that I would make tonight, but more than happy to discuss anything further.
So there's 79 single-family homes currently in the core residential? That's what that's saying, right? Like
So what I did, and the core residential, it's kind of funny though, because there's some parcels, there's a cluster of 6 or 7 parcels in the core residential district that there's nothing built on them right now. I was just including properties that, you know, fit the typical minimum lot size, et cetera, that you could see a single family home on. I will share my screen real quick just to show the zoning map if I may. All right. So the core, I guess we'll just start with the downtown as a whole. So right around 14 Mile North Main Street is our city center district, in a very light pink, almost white probably from where you're sitting. Surrounding that is the CMD district, which is again our extended downtown district. And then this dark yellow around that is the core residential. And so you can see that a lot of these current properties are single-family homes, but the zoning designation changed. I want to say it was roughly 5 to 10 years ago to core residential to kind of, you know, show that expansion of downtown.
And so that Jefferson, it looks like, is
I'm sorry,
that
right
like,
here?
yeah, is that showing like half of the lot is core residential, or is there a street between that? Yeah, like
Yeah,
where
so
you're there.
right down here, that would be Madison.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
so then
I see how it is.
Jefferson has that.
So one side of Jefferson, one
All of
part
Jefferson right here is core residential.
Okay.
And then on the southeast corner, there's just several properties that are core residential. And then this is where a bulk of the core residential zoning is right here.
But there's not, like, there's not a ton even, like you said, I'm assuming when you're talking about a lot of empty lots, you're talking about over here by the.
Right there.
Yeah.
There's 6 of them, yeah.
Jefferson
5, sorry.
seems more than I thought, I guess, over there. They abut a lot of single-family homes, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And those are a typical, like, 30 by 120 kind of lot over there, right?
I mean, a lot of these lots do vary in size and lot width and depth. I can pull up the minimum lot width for this core residential district, but I believe it's 40 or 50.
40 or 50?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's the zoning. Is there any feedback on just setting the public hearing to a later date, later meeting. That way we can try and move forward on this a little bit faster than having to wait every 15 days to do a public hearing notice.
Maybe I'm confused. Our discussion is zoning ordinance amendment, but it says here at this point in time, we do not have a proposed ordinance at this time. I thought we hashed this out. I was assuming that we're going to be talking about what we want in the ordinance, how many people are allowed in the house, control over cleanup, the application fee is $80. I thought we might adjust that.
Yep, that's.
We talked about inspections. We talked about a lot of things, and why isn't that not written down someplace that we have?
Because that's not in the zoning amendment. That's in the general ordinance. The planning commission's responsibility is the zoning of short-term rentals.
So all we're talking about now is strictly the zone where these places can and cannot go. And then once we get that locked in, then we go,
Then it goes to city council, and they're responsible for the general ordinance.
okay.
But I think even that language, existed. It was rejected by city council is what I recall.
Yeah, we were talking about the fenced-in yard, and they didn't like it, so we took it off, but now it's just still in limbo someplace. We have nothing on paper as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, and they set the number of people by the building code requirements from what I recall, right?
And there's already minimums in the general ordinance,
Okay.
It's
which
just
was
in
provided in
city
the
council
packet on
ordinance.
Wednesday.
Things like not maintaining the property, that's a code enforcement problem. If
Correct.
there's loud noises, that's a police department problem.
Correct.
So some of those are covered, but I thought we were going to get more details on it.
I mean, in what type of detail were you looking for? Again, the focus is to get the zoning and cap approved, and then have city council review the general ordinance separately once that's established. So we have the cap implemented.
And then the cap, we discussed at the joint meeting. We have 13 current. We talked about adding 5 and capping it at 18. And so the discussion was between 15 and 20 licenses that'd be available. Final number of shares at the meeting was 18. Now, the 18 includes the ones that are already licensed, correct?
That's correct.
We're not adding another 18 on top. We'll have an 18 of total of 18.
That is correct.
Okay, I have no problem with that. Any further problems or discussions?
I assume you probably didn't get a chance to talk to attorney on advice yet.
Not yet.
Okay, so strictly kind of just here to set a public hearing.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
I spoke to the chair last week and talked about not having a meeting because there's really nothing that we could present, but there was desire to meet tonight. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to at least present an action item so we can at least make a little bit of progress.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to set a public hearing date
Just-
in the future,
Thank you.
in the near future. Once, so you'll let us know when that is once Joe's back then, right?
I mean, could we get a second on that, then we can do
Oh,
this.
okay, sorry.
Support.
But I'd like to discuss.
For discussion, I want to make sure we have clear next steps, because I do agree. I mean, during the joint workshop, we were very clear that we wanted to drive forward the zoning and the cap, so I appreciate that. And then we gave recommendations on ordinance changes that they can accept or deny. We kind of put that on them as much as possible. I don't know if that's going to come in front of us afterwards. That's fine if it does or does not, in my opinion, because it's kind of the responsibility of city council. But what I want to make sure is, so on the meeting on the 8th of July, do we expect to have language to review so that we can then set the next?
Yes.
Okay.
The goal would be to have language, and so why I was looking for the open-ended meeting date is just in case if it's not presented in the way that you were expecting. Obviously, when we have the concept of an idea, but getting it into an ordinance language doesn't always go down on paper what we're expecting it to look like. So that is certainly the goal, is to have a draft amendment in front of you, and hopefully it checks all the boxes and can approve it and send it on to, have the public hearing, send it on to council would be
So
ideal.
ideal situation is on the next meeting, which is July 8th, there will be language to review, hopefully approve during that meeting.
Yes.
And you could also set the public hearing for 15 days.
Can we set the public hearing tonight for that meeting?
No, because we need the ordinance language to be in the public hearing notice. You can't set a public hearing without an ordinance language.
So the meeting is to go through the wording first, then we have to wait another 2 weeks,
More than that, it's 15 days.
15 days.
Yes.
Well, if we wait until then. But if we set the date today, Nick, then we wouldn't have to wait 15 days, correct? If we
Well-
approve a public hearing tonight, then by the next meeting, if we approve that language, we only need to wait till the next meeting, correct?
So the public notice is a key piece because what it does is it directs people to what the amendment to the ordinance is. So you
Okay, yeah,
can't
that doesn't make
publish a
sense.
public notice
Sorry.
without the ordinance language as part of it. And that's why it's unfortunate that it essentially takes a minimum of 3 meetings to get an ordinance amendment approved at PC because of that 15-day requirement. So we can
Right.
thank the state of Michigan for that.
They make it one more day than a meeting.
And
Yeah.
I do think it makes sense because it gives people to get more involved, so I get it. But when we're trying to get an ordinance moved across and approved faster, it does.
Yeah, so I guess it
certainly
doesn't
add
do a
in-
ton for us to expedite by setting a public, I don't have a problem with setting it tonight. We'll of course check back at the
Right.
next meeting
Again.
and make sure we're on track.
Seems like the cart's getting ahead of the horse even by setting it, unless we just do it by leap of faith.
But there's not a date
We're
in the
not
motion.
setting a
It's just
date.
giving the administration the ability to set the public hearing once the language is approved.
I feel like
We can always amend it next time, or can't we, Nick? Next time, if
I
we
mean-
feel confident in it, we can say we would like to set a public hearing for X date.
I mean, regardless at this point, if you do approve the language on the 8th, the public hearing won't be held until August 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's if we apply the standard cadence of just meeting when we normally meet. We could have a special meeting.
I mean, again, it's still 15 days.
Right.
So if you approve it on the 8th,
We could have it on the 23rd, on a Wednesday. I'm not suggesting we do, I'm just for the purposes of conversation.
Yeah,
If we uphold our every other, twice a month schedule like we normally do, meeting on Tuesdays, Nick's right, But my feeling is, at this point, we've talked a lot about it, the changes are pretty compact, especially if we're only talking about the zoning impact. This is not a 30-page ordinance. It's a fairly simple ordinance. So I think we could very likely approve it quickly on the 8th. I would appreciate setting a public hearing fairly quickly, just to get it through. And if it meant us meeting for an hour or however long it would be on a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever, so be it. In the interest of cutting that timeline down, I think we could do that. But I think it's a moot point until we have the document in front of us. My thought was we would just get if anything hadn't been said last week that needed to be said today, we could say it here. But then ultimately, I think our message to you, Nick, is we really want this by the 8th. In print, and anything after the 8th is a pretty unacceptable delay. So once it happens and we have it, I think we set the motion on that day specifically to a date and time for that public hearing, which minimum of 15 days later, and off to the races
And-
we go.
15 days from posting. So the typical paper we post in is 2 days a week. They need at least 2 to 3 days heads up. So
Fair enough.
it's probably closer to 3 weeks. Just trying to set your expectations. That's why I
Yeah, no,
want to
no.
have the ability to, once it's approved, we don't have to.
So just to ensure that the language would work for this group, I mean, is there anything else you need from us?
I
At
mean,
this
the-
stage, you feel very confident, I mean,
The
and this
language-
body should discuss that right now, I guess, too, also, if there's anything in here that Nick's included that,
Yeah, I mean, the language really boils down to the 6 districts,
Yeah.
and that the residential districts would be non-conforming, but included in the cap, and then the cap is 18. So I think that's what the zoning language specifically boils down to. Obviously, I haven't had any feedback from legal on this, which is going to be a key piece, and Joe's gone as well. So they're obviously the driving two forces in making ordinance amendments. So, again, July 8th is the goal, but you got to remember it's the week after 4th of July, and so time is also of the essence there too. So whether it's the final language on the 8th or a version of it, that's the plan. I mean, I do understand the urgency, but at the same time, we've been doing this for 2 years. I don't think an extra 2 or 3 weeks is really going to blow the blow up the big storm.
My opinion was just that if anybody right now feels like Nick would be missing anything with just having the zoning that you see in front of you in this packet and the 18 total cap, we should discuss that now, just so it doesn't drag out for another meeting and have to come back in front of us. I think I'm okay with that. I think one of the holdups that you were gonna check with legal was, do we include the current 13 that we have in that 18 cap, because that would be the only holdup I heard from city council.
And that's
is
why
that
I
they don't
wanna-
wanna add 18 more, which I know the chair already mentioned.
Right.
They wanna
Right.
add maybe 5 more.
And I think that was a common thought, but it's how that language gets drafted, so the non-conforming are part of that cap, but still allowed to operate, so
Yep.
that's what we're looking at.
And thanks for distilling this down to this from that meeting, because that was a lot. And thanks for holding the meeting. I didn't know Andy wasn't going to be here either. But I do have the motion on the floor. I'm still happy to kind of put it, I trust that Nick's going to do it as well. We also will have a meeting by then if we need to make another motion to set a date for that, but sometime in the future, if that helps Nick have a box checked so that he's in order to get this thing rolling, I feel like we can support him in that.
I would prefer to set it ourselves, once we know exactly what we have to work with, and then we can set it either for another regularly scheduled meeting, or we can schedule it for a special meeting at
Right,
that
we'll
time.
see how the meeting goes on the
On the
8th, if
8th.
we're all approving
Yeah.
at that point in time. I could speed it up by calling a special meeting and
Right.
just not wait another 2 weeks for our regular schedule.
Right.
If that move on. So it has to be read by us, approved by us, and then we have to have the public comment before it goes on to mayor and council?
That's correct.
Okay. So you understand where we're at. We're trying to streamline this as fast as we can. On a side note, though, are you aware of any problems with 1223 Langley Boulevard that the lady spoke about?
We're looking into it.
Are there any complaints coming into the police department and things on this?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm still in the process of getting the complaints from the PD.
Okay, and that would be out of our realm anyway. That's be a police matter or a code enforcement.
Part of the
problem.
issue with the property that was mentioned earlier today by public comment, so they did pull the permit. They never called for a final inspection. So the work has happened recently, but it's not uncommon to have some inspectors not call for a final inspection. And so we're gonna have our building official out there this week to look at the property and see what the issue is.
I just want to remind you too that there's
Still a
the
motion
motion on the table still.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to stop.
We have a motion to schedule a public hearing, correct?
I'm going to vote no, just because I would rather us do it on the 8th,
Well, we can't.
with definitiveness on a date, instead
Right.
of just,
Without a date, it makes no sense
Yeah.
to begin with. The motion.
but I appreciate Ms. Redmond trying to, help.
I mean, it's
just
not
don't-
like we're going to forget about it. We
That's
can
it,
still
yeah,
hold it
exactly.
all
I
accountable,
think it's
so I'm
just a little
happy.
cleaner if
Yeah.
we wait and specify the date when we make the motion.
Okay,
on
I'm
the
still
8th.
going to vote yes,
Okay.
but that's okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand how it helps or hurts him personally,
Nick
right? I
just
mean,
asked, so either
Yeah,
do I,
Nick,
so
I-
I'm happy to do it.
And, right, because I'm just saying, we're
Don't
gonna
care
have
either way.
to set that regardless.
Right.
Yeah,
And so I don't, to Commissioner Nate's point, right, I don't know that it actually does help or hurt. It just leaves it up to you guys rather than us being able to set it on the 8th.
Was this just to have something on the meeting, Nick?
we've had good
Make it
discussion.
feel like we did something today.
Maybe we can say mission accomplished since we've
Yeah.
had some good discussion on it.
Because I'm
and good-
happy to check a box. That's cool.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't help or hurt.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
so-
again, I know
Just
it's
a little
15-day notice, but it's gonna be probably closer to 18 to 21 days with getting the notice in the newspaper. So if you approve what's presented on the 8th tentatively, again, it's August 12th is the date. I mean,
Here's how I read it. It delegates our authority to set the date to you, and I think that's our job. I think we should do it. So, it's fine to be, on here, but I think it's getting the cart ahead of the horse. We should have the ordinance, we should review it, we should say, yeah, we want to put this to the public on this specific day, and we should do that all in one clean motion when it's possible to do so. It's just a housekeeping thing. If we execute the motion as presented, that, it's up to you. And you can do it on the 15th, you can do it on the 20th, you can do it whenever you want to do it. But
I would do it on the next regular scheduled meeting that I can get on. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna set it for a Friday at noon, I mean,
And I'm-
come on now.
full transparency, probably going to try to accelerate it if we could, but it'll be what it'll be. And it would just be one vote, not everybody, so,
Yeah.
okay. Motion on the table.
What is the motion? There is really no.
I made the motion and I was seconded, yeah, to allow Nick to set a public hearing based on, I don't know exactly what I said, Nick.
You can just withdraw the motion if you want to.
Because we can't schedule a public hearing at this point in time.
Yeah, we can.
We have to have my understanding is we have to have the July 8th
Oh, man,
meeting.
this is getting too complicated
I think
unnecessarily, so
it-
I'll withdraw my
Okay.
motion, Nick. Whatever is easiest for you. I
Yep.
feel like at this point, it's easier to
Yes.
withdraw.
that's correct.
Am I right? We have to have the July 8th meeting, we have to agree on the motion, and then we can set a public hearing. We can't set a public hearing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Nick, I mean, I appreciate you were just trying to, a box would be checked, so you have authority just to schedule it. But in my opinion, it doesn't expedite anything, because we have to see the language, we have to approve it.
Right.
And we're gonna be in that meeting, at that point, we could just schedule next,
But I think
at that
this
point.
was-
I-
yeah.
That's how I feel. I think I don't see the benefit of this motion, so that's my opinion.
So we've simply had discussion and no motion.
Do I have to get a second to withdraw the motion?
No.
I don't think so.
Don't
Okay.
think so.
So should I make a motion to adjourn, or are there,
No, we still have a,
oh,
If you want to.
I like it, just
Oh,
say,
you're
we
done
failed
now.
and we're on.
are we good now?
okay, we killed the discussion. How about a planner's report? We don't have a planner, so we don't have any planner's report. Staff report and training opportunities, anything going on there?
Nothing major. The one thing I want to let you know is we do have 3 site plans for the July 8th meeting, so it's going to be a packed meeting.
Whoa,
One of them is special land use for a use already operating in the district. They're just expanding to another building. But the ordinance is special land use, so that's why that one's going in front of you. Another one is an additional cover parking structure at 1238 Anderson Court. The Gen Oil, they're applying for another site plan amendment. And then 860 Batter, what is it? Grow facility, the medical grow facility. They'll be on the agenda as well.
Batter.
Oh.
Are we invading Royal Open?
Huh?
Is this the street in Clausen?
Yes,
Never
it's
heard of it.
Rochester Road on the east side, north.
That's where they just got water, isn't it? On Batter?
Where we, yes,
Yeah,
that's where
yeah,
the water.
because there wasn't water all the way down the
Right,
street.
yeah. Troy was doing a road project there, and so we didn't have water main on Batter, so that's
Mm-hmm.
why we were included in that project.
okay, you said 3. One's Anderson Court, one's on Batter. What was the third one?
It's on North Main Street.
North Main, okay.
That's a what type of business?
It's a veterinary clinic,
Thank you.
Okay,
and
so we'll have to deal with those and this ordinance. Then, at that point, we'll set a timing for public. Okay, anybody else have any questions for Nick on?
I do. Do you have any insight on when the demo may start on Baker? I get a lot of questions on that.
they're still going through engineering right now. I believe they're on their second rendition of new plans being reviewed by AEW, and so I imagine there's gonna be at least another review.
So that's based on the developer, right? So isn't the school district handling the demolition of it?
Correct. Excuse me, I was getting things confused. Yes, the demo should be happening probably any day now. I don't know if it's gonna be before the 4th of July, but it is by the school district. Thank you for that. I don't have a date, though. Because the state of Michigan does not have school districts pull permits through municipalities, they don't submit a building permit through us. So we don't exactly have their timeline for that.
Seems
We had a bit of discussion before the meeting on the apartments that were going to go out on Florence over there. They proposed and they canceled out again. Are they still coming back? Do you have?
They have
any-
not followed up with us at this point.
Looked like good plans to me. I'm surprised that they had a problem with it, so.
I plan on following up with them again, but it's been silence.
Okay, I guess we can deal with 3 one night. We don't need the 4th one thrown in.
Yes, I think that'd be a bad idea.
Okay, anything else for Nick?
Just, are we any closer to having on the Shalom side a presentation on what the current buy, build right or, plan is for the?
Well, the planning commission approved in January the preliminary condo, and so they're going through engineering right now. They're getting very close to engineering approval, which at that point they'll come back to the planning commission for approval, which will then go to city council.
Not planning.
It goes back to planning.
Okay, so after engineering.
It goes back to planning,
It'll come
yes.
back to planning. So, and this is specifically for the Shalom part of it.
For the site, any site condominium, which both Shaw and Baker are, and they're different applications because they're
Sure.
different developers.
Yeah. Okay, so best guess would be engineering approval when?
When I started this job, I guessed on engineering reviews, and I stopped that very quickly. Sometimes they take way too long.
Yeah. Well, it's like almost half a year now.
It's correct.
Okay.
While we're bugging you about status updates, I always get the
Ready
one
for 'em.
about Lincoln and Maine at the Bolt PNC.
So-
Any update there?
Yes, we are reviewing their building plans right now and also their engineering plans. They're supposed to be doing demo within the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
If I may,
yes.
the apartment building here on 14 Mile, right next to Burger King, the one by the church.
Across from Nick's, where they took the 3
Across
houses
from
down.
Nick's.
Yes.
Okay. If my memory serves me well, we approved it for 2 stories. Did the 3rd story just erect on its own there?
So it is in their plans for that. It was the 2.5 story, kind of similar to what they did here. Our building official and I have requested that they provide an architect's review of the building height, just to compare it to what the plans are. So we already have that in motion to make sure that it's within specs.
It does seem
So it's not
extra
just me,
big.
then, okay. It grew big.
We requested it, I drove by it, and then I talked to our building official, and we requested it immediately, just to make sure.
Well, and I'm curious too, because it seems really big for that spot too.
Right.
Like, it seems like it's overpowering, so I'm like, maybe we would need to rethink that zone if that's the right size.
so I do
It seems
think-
overpowering.
I do think part of it too is that 14 Mile of the road is probably about 3 to 5 feet lower than where that property is in
True.
grade. So I'm not saying we're not wrong and that it looks a little bit taller than maybe what we were expecting, but the grade certainly
Footprint
doesn't
looks big
help.
though too, next to the church. It looks like, I'm like,
Yeah.
what did we say for the setbacks
Well,
on that? Because it looks so.
It looks deeper.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Plus
So
you're
we,
looking at plywood right now, and I think it throws your eye off.
True.
Once it's skinned out, I think it's.
True, but-
Optically.
But
I'm curious.
we should be getting the architect's review of the building size and scope.
It'd be good to circle back to that, because it truly, I'm wondering if we can sustain that all the way down 14, right? Not a lot of green space, well,
Yeah.
except for the,
So I think
Front
maybe
easement.
that could be something that we do, well, maybe once we get into the fall, once we get the short-term rental ordinance done. There's gonna be a couple other site plans coming this summer, but when we start talking about the master plan again and implementing those goals and objectives, just kind of review projects that have been approved recently and talk about maybe what exactly we wanna see in these districts, what we can
Yeah.
amend in the
Do
ordinance,
you know when
so.
we approved that?
That,
That particular one, 500?
440 West 14 Mile?
Yeah, whatever.
By the
It was
church?
3, and then it became 1.
Well, there were 3 different addresses that
Yeah.
were combined to
Yeah.
440. That was last year at some point. I could probably go
I feel
back
like
and
it was
look.
last fall, but was it longer than
I
that?
thought it was more than a year ago.
Oh,
I would have to double check on that one. I don't.
Yeah, I
know
believe
off the
it's a
top of
lot
my head.
longer than a year ago. I remember
Yeah.
neighbors coming in complaining about flooding their yards and things.
Maybe that would be a fun little add to the site plan updates is the date that they were approved.
well,
Yeah, there's a thought.
Have they
I'm-
submitted a foundation, I'm sorry, have they submitted a foundation as built yet? They have?
Yeah.
And it checked out and passed by EW?
I believe so.
so is that the same size footprint as like Roth? Because I'm curious,
The lots were very different.
It cannot be, that thing.
but the same height though, doesn't it just
That's what
seem
I
so much bigger than Roth? And I don't know if it's the placement of it or if it's just
3rd story
bigger.
here, it's got to be a livable space, and Roth It's just a window. It looks.
Well, that's why we requested the architect's review of it.
Yeah,
so we
I was
can-
just curious.
That way, the building's not done, and we're like, hey, that's not to plan. So we're on them.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we jettisoned a little bit quickly from our actual topic today. Is it possible, going back to short-term rental discussion for the next meeting, to just have a zoning map with the highlighted areas that are in the proposal? Will that be a visual diagram that shows the 1, 2,
I mean, it's
3,
all
4,
on the zoning
5, 6,
district.
7?
If you look at the tabs, I don't think it's that difficult of a thing to do. You want them highlighted specifically?
It's pretty much all of them except for B.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the properties that surround 14 Mile and Main Street, and then Maple and Crooks, and there's two little small subsections of B3, and then the industrial district's the north part of Rochester.
Yeah, well, okay. I thought it would be nice to, it's a little bit of a busy map that shows it, you know, with all of the other districts, very colorful. I thought it'd be interesting to have one map that just had one color that shows exactly where it's allowed and where it's not allowed, but it's okay.
I missed the discussion on how it came to 6. Like, the core residential was pretty surprising to me, how that came about, because there's quite a bit of residential
There is, yeah.
in that, and that would be, so,
I felt like it was a compromise.
If we don't include core residential, we're gonna be back here again in 6
No,
months.
well, and I felt like it was a compromise in order to keep it out of the regular residential. It's like, well, okay, at least that's where I was kind of coming from, was like, if it'll keep it out of R1 and R2, that's already, you know, kind of like you said, an expansion, a coming expansion of downtown. It's like you're allowed businesses there, right, Nick? But there are a lot more properties there
Well, I
than
guess-
I thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just missed that discussion.
We totally would be back here. We would never get this thing done if we excluded that. Yeah.
Okay, and if we're done with staff report and training opportunities, are you?
I was just gonna let you know that I am scheduled to be out of town right now for both meetings in July. I'll be able to be the weeks before to get the packets out, but Joe, Andy, and I believe Rennis should be here on the July 8th meeting as well.
Okay. And then, no legal, excuse me, no legal update tonight because we don't have a lawyer. And before we adjourn, does anyone else have anything they want to comment on?
Just while we're talking about being absent, I ended up traveling for work a lot in the summer, and unfortunately, I won't be at either of the July meetings. So just a heads up, 'cause I usually email you, but for everybody else, in case I forget.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any?
So, in your.
Talking absences?
Well, yeah, I'll be here, but in your stead, will Vince be covering, or,
Either Joe or Andy will be here doing the roll call, or Vince may be here. We'll have it covered.
okay. But despite that, the language will be ready on the 8th.
Again, as far as I know, we're gonna try and have language. Joe should be back in the office on Monday. And if it can get done, it'll get done.
I will then entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Oh, did you have time to request off? No?
Time to request off?
Yeah.
If you want to bail on
Vacation.
July meetings, now's the time.
I don't need to request anything, but on July 8th,
I
I'll
thought
be
you-
here, but the
You
rest of
seemed
them.
happy about that, so you're like, we're time off? Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn.
You cut me off, I'm not done.
Oh, what, just say no. Okay, I rescind my motion.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be here July 8th, but the following 2 meetings I won't be here.
Boy, we're going to get thin here, on and off.
Yeah. Well, busy summers, I guess.
So July 8th is more important than we know. We might not have a
Apparently,
full
it's
quorum.
boiling down.
Yeah.
If you need business done in Clausen, come July 8th. If you're done, you wait for fall.
All right. Now I will make a motion to adjourn.
Support, Mr. Chair.
Motion support, can I have roll call on that, please?
Mr. Harrow,
Yes.
Mr. Cusero,
Yes.
Mr. Nushai,
Yes.
Ms. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
and Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm gonna show you my picture.
That would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I'm gonna get, because this is what it looked like after.